Welcome to Capitol Forum. My guest today is Senate President Andy Biggs. President Biggs, thanks for being here. Why did you decide to run for Senate President?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. And then I decided to run for Senate President because I felt like there was something I could offer, something I could bring to the table. And I'm passionate about policy. I want to see certain policies that I think are good for the state in there, but as well, I think that there needs to be a sense of collegiality in the body, and I think that I can bring that, and with my experience and the respect that I have for the institution, I think that those are some of the things that I thought I could bring to the table.
You've been Appropriations Chair, Majority Leader. What do you think the challenges will be now being President?
Well, you know, one thing that happens as a Majority Leader, you're focused primarily on your caucus, and for me, and then the budget, those are really your two primary functions. And so, you know, those were in my wheelhouse, the budget and then working with the caucus. The challenge that you have here, of course, is we have numbers that are a little bit different than we've had the last couple of years. And so trying to work with everyone and make sure everybody's involved, make sure that we can get good policy out while assuaging the most sensitive member of the body, and trying to keep us running at the proper pace and get us out of here in an efficient manner and as quickly as possible, doing as much good and as little damage to the state as we can. Those are the real challenges of the president.
What are your core beliefs? Who is Andy Biggs politically?
I like to think I'm a mainstreamer, to be honest with you. I think conservatism is in the mainstream of this country. I mean, I look back to Ronald Reagan, and he really provided indication of what America's about. And so for me, the most fundamental belief is in the United States Constitution in and of itself, and the founding documents and the intention of what this country was, which was an experiment in self-government, an idea of freedom, which had never been tried before. So I think for me, the fundamental belief is in preserving those freedoms, and also the balance between the state and the federal government. I mean, the founders of this country indicated that the states have sovereignty. They are sovereigns, and even in a recent Supreme Court decision, one of the Supreme Court justices opined that every state remains sovereign and has inherent rights. And so core beliefs for me are, not only does an individual have an inherent right, a bundle of rights, but the state also has a bundle of rights, and we need to prevent the federal government from encroaching on both of those sets of rights. And if we do, we'll have this balance that made us the most prosperous and the freest country in the history of the world. And that's really my core beliefs.
You've been in the legislature since 2003. Have those beliefs changed at all now that you're you've been down here? What have you learned in your time as a lawmaker?
Well, those beliefs haven't changed. I mean, because those are core principles, and those core principles ought not to change unless you find that you're wrong. I haven't found that I'm wrong on those core principles. But what I have come to experience is that not everyone shares those core principles. I think that many of us may give nod to those types of principles, and some flatly reject those principles. And that's what I've learned most, I suppose, is that there's some who don't believe that in that set of that bundle of inherent rights that individuals have, or that there is a reasonable set of sovereign rights that a state has vis-a-vis the federal government. So my core principles have not changed, but my experience in understanding that there are others who view me as an outlier, perhaps, whereas maybe I think they're the outlier. I think that's been an eye-opening experience.
Do you try to get those folks to change their opinion, or do you just accept it and move on and try to do the best that you can? What's your...
Well, I mean, obviously, since we're a close-knit body of the 30 here when I was in the House, you want to persuade as many people as you can that whatever policy we're talking about either is in harmony with or in discord with those fundamental core principles. You want to persuade them. There are some who you learn will never agree with you. And so you only have so much time and energy, so you might say, well, we don't need to work on that with those folks. But there are also others that will agree with that policy, even though their principles may be fundamentally different. And so you try to get your victories where you can.
Speaking of that, what do you think the biggest issues coming up for the session will be? Budget obviously is always the biggest thing, but
yeah, I think you're right. Budgets will be a big issue, but we won't necessarily turn this into a budget discussion. But other issues I think that are big that folks are going to be looking at are election reform. We have both left and right, both Democrats and Republicans are looking for ways to make the elections process better, no fraud, more transparent, and more effective for voters to get out. So I think elections laws is a big one. I think our relationship with the feds and what the EPA is doing with us and the problems that we have with the Navajo generating station and the overwhelming, it will be a huge cost to us as a state unless we can get the EPA to withdraw some of its more I want to say oppressive rulings with regard to, say, the Navajo generating plant. So you're going to see this kind of how do we adjust to that? How do we respond to that? That'll be, I think, a big issue in the state as well.
Going back just to the budget really quick, where do you think we are as a state financially? Are we on the road to recovery? Are we sort of slowly coming back? I've seen some housing numbers that seem to indicate that we're inching toward a recovery of some sort. What do you think? Where are we as a state financially?
Well, I think there's some indications that give support to the idea that we're slowly coming back. Obviously, housing prices have inched up. We're seeing some new starts and some construction coming about. And construction always kind of, at least traditionally, has led our economy when we've had a recovery. One of the issues that we see, though, is that a lot of the purchases are not for people who are going to dwell in that house. In other words, they're investors and rentals, and it's a question of how that will impact the recovery as well. I think that as the rest of the country continues to be in a difficult economy, and I was just talking to some people over the weekend, small businessmen and women over the weekend, they continue to feel incredible pain. They're not hiring. If they are hiring, it's not what they normally would be looking to do. So I think that if we are in a recovery mode, which I think we're at the start of it, it's very slow, it's tentative yet. And the state budget, with relationship to that, we're in pretty good shape. I mean, what we've done is we've managed to constrain the growth in government. We have some money set aside, acknowledging that 15 and 16 are some really difficult years ahead. Now, having said all that, the fact that we have the sequestration and the fiscal, so-called fiscal cliff looming overhead, that poses a problem as well, because several tax research organizations and statistical organizations have said that if all of those tax hikes come into play, which are many billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars, it could drag on our economy by up to 4% or 3.9%. So if we were going to grow at, say, 4%, all of a sudden we're growing or staying at 0.01%. So it has a potential to be an incredible drag on the economy as a whole, which again, since we're nested in the federal economy, has a chance to bring us down a little bit.
This is my last question. I'm going to ask you to look in your crystal ball. Where do you want the state to be 2 years from now when the next legislature takes their chairs?
I want us to be in a great fiscal shape, where we have all the things we've planned for have come to fruition, that we haven't added back a bunch of spending, so we're in a big hole in 15 and 16. I want us to see us be at the top of the nation in job creation. I think being at, what are we, 4, 5, or 6, depending on what barometer you use, I would like to see us continue to grow there. I would like to see us become the model state for education. I think that our school choice is wonderful, the opportunities that people have, and I would like people to start touting what we really do have in Arizona as far as education. We're not educational attainment. We're not down at the bottom. We are solid, and our universities continue to be solid. And I think that all of those things we need as a state to start positively reporting to our friends in other states, because we actually have some tremendous things going on. And you can focus on negatives all you want, but we should be focusing on the positives. And we're poised to bring in, I mean, California is a basket case. And so when I hear businesses from California say, well, we're concerned about your educational system, I think, well, in California, good grief, you guys passed the parental trigger law. Not only did you pass it, you actually had parents trigger because the school was so bad. So we have some advantages that we need to parlay into bringing in some of these businesses and bring this growth into the state.
Mr. President, thank you for being here today.
Thank you. It's good talking with you.